Hey there UK EDCers, today I'm going to be reviewing the XM Slippy by Hinderer knives. These are available for around about £300 depending where you purchase them and which model you choose. They've got 3 different grinds. You have the sheep's foot, you have the slicer, and you have the spanto. This is about £267, that's what that cost me from Heine. Although, if you want this one, Knives and Tools has this for £200 right now. This is about £290, give or take. The slicer grind, and then the spanto is only available at Heine from what I can tell, in the UK at least. Also only available with the DLC black coating there. And that one's 320, I believe, 319. So these all come with Hinderer's sort of limited warranty, I believe. It does, however, state on the website things like if you strip a screw, sort of a fuck you really, you need to pull up your trousers and sort it out yourself. Which I can sort of get, but at the same time, can you not just hire one guy to sort out stuff like that? You know, charge people for it. Yeah, it's just a front-facing, aggressive, seemingly unnecessary, to me at least, bit of marketing, but there you go. So the action on these actually varies. Now, a lot of people have criticised these for being very soft, and in the case of the sheep's foot and of the slicer, that's true. However, this spanto version is a much stronger spring, so there's that to consider. If you like a strong back spring, go with the spanto. And just to show you what I mean, how can I do this without murdering myself? We put them both at about the same point. Beats the slicer. Beats the sheep's foot, and yeah, there's nothing in it. This is a stronger back spring than both of those. These, however, are about the same, the slicer and the sheep's foot. The half stop in these, and there is one, is sublime. I've mentioned before, on these things, the half stop is damn near perfect, because you can open it without it stopping, but when you close it, it's there. And that's lovely. If you want the half stop, it's a tiny bit tough on the close for my liking, but it's entirely doable. You know, if you really want to go, you can, like just in one smooth motion. These, Rick has, it's like he's read my mind when he designed these. They are sublime. It just pops to that position, so when you first close it with your thumb like I do, you just pops to that, and then that little finger choil just cuts out and rests on your finger there, which is ideal. And then you just pull that, just like that. And then when you open it, you can't even tell it's there. You really cannot tell that the half stop's there when you're opening. But it's absolutely there when you're closing it. It's not a strong thing, but like I said, if you're using this knife properly, putting your finger in the right position, even not there, like obviously just when you close it, it naturally stops on your finger anyway, and then the rest of the way. But there's absolutely that little half stop just there. You can, like, it's a really big one, a really big half stop. Like that whole thing there is sort of the half stop, I guess. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. It's really up my alley. I'll move these to the side because most people have the slicer, I think, anyway. Washers on here are the tiniest little phosphor bronze washers. Do you know what? Let's do a quick disassembly. I say quick. I'll do a disassembly here just to show you on the hardware front as well. Okay, so here you can see the inner workings. So this piece, once you've got the first little bit, you can pretty much just stop using this tool and unscrew the rest of it. But yeah, so, and that's just that's the whole pin that goes through the pivot, and then the other side screws into that. So you have that little guide pin there as well. You've got the smallest phosphor bronze washers I've ever seen on a knife ever. And to be fair, you don't need to take this scale or any of this off, so I'll correct myself. To actually take the knife apart, all you will need is these two for the pivot, and then this one for the back spring retainer. So yeah, I can even like put this back on right now. Okay, so I just rebuild that off camera just to, you've seen me unbuild it. Or disassemble, I suppose. So these all have, or at least this one has red Loctite on it, which is why it's such a pain. So you'll just have to hold a soldering iron to that before you unscrew it whilst holding that. But once you get past the first part, once you manage to start screwing this screw independent of that pin, it will sort itself out. So it's these two to get the pin out, this one to get the two spring holders out. Then that's only for changing the scales, although if you want to change both scales you'll need a Phillips head as well in order to move that. Of course you can turn it tip up or tip down with that as well, and also you have this little one, just either move that right down to there or just take it off entirely so you can have it as like a nail nick. That's 6 different tools. That would be my first hang up on this. So the scales on this are, I love them. They're ideal, they fit my hand perfectly. It's just standard G10 for the most part. There is one special variant now that's popped up on Knives and Tools with carbon fibre, but the price on that is astronomical.
The scales are also sold at dlttrading.com.
Either way, the scales are available in a variety of colours depending on which one you choose. You can get across both design, or all 3 designs, sorry, you can get black, olive drab, orange, blue and grey. Coyote brown, which I've only seen on the sheep's foot variety. You can also get this one DLC coated like this one. So the slicers either or, at least in the UK anyway. So there's a lovely little lanyard hole there, which is ideal, and anyone that's familiar with the XM18 will be familiar with that. You can look up loads of pictures of that online. The clip on this thing is a thing of beauty, although it must be said, it comes like this, which is like the stone wash finish, which is the same finish as the blade there, if you'll have a look. So it's not shiny, which is, you know, points for that. It's not super reflective, but it is still silver. So I've elected on my sheep's foot to just take a blowtorch and ruin my warranty on that one. Or if you get the DLC coated, they'll DLC coat the clip and the spacer for you as well, which is fantastic, except what they don't do is DLC coat any of the hardware. So if you want to run like a nice blacked out stealth operation like this, so that it's, you know, blends in very well with your trousers, all the hardware's black. The pivot, these screws, the clip screws, the only silver on it is the blade edge, and you've got the Recon 1 logo and cold steel and all that stuff. So I would have preferred if on the DLC coated ones they'd done all the hardware as well, because if you're paying the extra for the DLC, you want that, surely. You want everything to be DLC'd. Which is why I don't have black scales on the black one, because it looks a bit stupid. Because everything's all black except for the hardware. So I've gone for olive drab on this one, which originally came with a sheep's foot. And then I put those scales on this one. The scales are very, very slightly different on each of the models. I don't know if that's just a revision thing or if they just have a problem at the supplier or whatever. But the top one there, the sheep's foot, which was originally on the Spanto. That's more of a wavy thing. Then you've got even finer waves on the bottom, on the middle one, sorry, and then the bottom one's like angular ridges. Apart from that, they're identical. It just seems odd to me that they do that. Bit weird, but there you go. So the liners on this, they will also DLC coat your liners if you get a DLC coated version. And you've just seen me take it apart. So the liners go the whole way through. What is weird is you have jimping on the liners here on all of the models, and like down here and down there. For, I don't know what the fuck that's for. I guess maybe. Oh yeah, I suppose for that. If you, I mean, you'd never do that with a slip joint, but yeah. So you've got jimping in multiple places. However, the sheep's foot, and again, I don't know if this is a revision thing or if this is, you know, standard on across the range, actually has jimping built into the back spring as well. Now this doesn't affect the spring strength because, as I've said, these two are the same strength, and this one doesn't have the jimping and this one does, which was my initial thought because I got this one last and this one was much stronger than that one, the spring wise. So but it's just a bit weird. So the grip on this is sublime. I am totally in love with Hinderer's grip. That hits all the right spots. So you get your finger choil up here, finger down here, and then these two, and you've still got space. If you want to choke back here, or just not choke, I suppose, go back just to a standard grip, you can do that. And then if the knife should shut in your hand, no problems. That forward finger choil will still fall onto your finger. Of course, you've got complete control over there. But like, look at that. Look at how strong that snapback is. Versus, say, you can hear like that's more of a dull thud. I guess that one's very slightly stronger than that one. This one, though, you can really hear the aggressive. So the fit and finish of these is incredible. This is just a Hinderer standard. These are absolutely flawless in my opinion. I haven't found a single issue with any of them, like regarding just standard fit and finish. There's nothing weird, nothing odd, nothing's off at all. Although again, I will mention another thing, just regarding finish. So if you choose the DLC finish on your blade, you will not get the same on your finger disc, thumb disc. It will still come this colour. So again, I've torched that one just to make it line up more, but originally you get that colour, and it's I don't like the look of a silver disc on the black blade. So mine's just you know, anodized. Lol. So the blades themselves, they're all CPM 20CV. I don't think any of them have any blade play whatsoever. That's fine, and yeah, it's a slip joint, so you can't really do up and down. Nope, they're all, honestly, 100% completely secure. There's no blade play in any three of those. You've got your three different grinds there. So your sheep's foot is your standard sheep's foot with your wedge there. You got a long bit there. I find that lovely for opening like just cardboard boxes standard. It's got a really nice thin edge the whole way down, so you can just stab it right in between like the flaps and just slicer grind. I've only used this for a couple of days because I've been running this for like a month, 2 months now. This one's pretty much the same, but it doesn't have that, you know, you have to get much higher if you want to do that, which is where I work in stock rooms and such like that, opening loads of boxes. There's usually a shelf above it, so the sheep's foot fits that niche much better because you don't have to lift anywhere near as high. But it's all belly on this one, so you don't really get the like middle point. Whereas with the Spanto, you get like a very small, like minor pronounced. I mean, they're almost identical. The the shapes of these, but this one has like a more beefy blade edge, so I guess this one would be I don't know, I suppose the American XM18 would be the self-defense choice, but slip joints are a bit shit at self-defense, because if you hit a bone or anything, the energy is just going to stop and then cause the slip joint to close on your hand, which is sort of why they're legal in the UK. But yeah, so I don't really know why you'd want the span toe as such. I have found the belly on this one to be quite nice for doing opening packages like that kind of thing, but I think for the UK, for our needs, I think these two are probably the better design. This one does look the coolest in my opinion though, but yeah, the idea is you're paying for a practicality with a Hinderer knife, not a tacticalness factor. There's billboarding on these for the slicer and the span toe. You'll get the little Hinderer knives logo there and USA CPM 20CV there, which are visible when closed through the little finger groove there. You get it in a nice reflective silver if you get a DLC blade. If you just get a standard blade, you just get that. Guess they call that a slicer for a reason. And on the sheep's foot, you've got yourself, because of the way the grind works, oh focus, there we go, they have to put it on the actual blade, so the USA 20 CV's like shortened now, more concise. It should be noted that's not the finish you get on the blade. I've altered that because of usage and such. And then that one you can't see, you can see like maybe a bit of the, you can see the V, the CV. So the finger choil on these is of course the sharpening choil, so you don't need to worry about that at all. You get both, so you can really choke up, and when you're sharpening, although when you are sharpening I would recommend removing that because it does sort of tend to get in the way a bit, but it's nice that you can remove that to sharpen it. Centering on all three of these I believe is pretty spot on. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Hey. There we go, and that's fine. So centering is pretty dead on. I'll put the size and weight of these boys up on screen now because there's three different, but they're all they're weighty-ish. They're not ultra hefty because they're basically titanium, but the liners do go through the whole way throughout, and they're about the maximum you can have legally in the UK. So there's a bit of weight there. They're not nothing. I'll put the thickness of just behind the edge up here on screen now. I believe it's 0.3mm for all three. 0.3mm, that's tiny. No, 3mm for all three. And I'll put the length, I'm pretty sure is right on the ragged edge of UK legal, but I'll throw that up for each as well. So comparing them against some other UK knives. Oh, let's get rid of that little thing. We've got the Benchmade proper there, the Spyderco UK PK, and the Manly Wasp, as well as, if you're American viewer, oof, there's the Ontario Rat 1, which doesn't really fit on the screen. Yeah. Tell you what, since the big boys are here, So yeah, it just dwarfed. Because some people have knife laws that aren't lame. There you go. So, not massive, you know, not more than you'd need in a light use EDC task anyway, but nothing crazy. So, in conclusion, I'm a massive fan of these, even though that slicer just sliced me. I absolutely love the XM Slippy, enough so that I bought all three. I think I have a Hinderer problem. I also purchased one of his silly little pens. But yeah, please don't release any more grinds, Rick. Just leave it like that. And I'll be a happy bunny. But these represent exquisite quality to me. You know, for a production knife, these are utterly fantastic. There's nothing I can find wrong with them. They all operate soundly. They all do their job fantastically. Although I will say, the CPM20CV, absolute right bollock to sharpen, that is. It took ages. I cut through a box and accidentally dinged this blade on the side of like a cage. And, you know, it's quite tough steel, quite hard steel, so it didn't leave a huge dent in it, but you'd have thought it did the amount of time it took me to grind that shit out. So that's something to consider. But obviously it keeps its edge longer. I barely have to sharpen these at all, except for when I fuck up like an idiot. So yeah, I'm an absolute avid fan of Rick. I love his designs. I don't think I've got a knife that fits better in my hand to date. Like these just, there's no hot spot whatsoever for me, and that thumb disc gives you a nice little... I'll tell you what though, I will say, thumb disc. Could have done that better. Take a few notes out of Emerson's book. If you just have a little bit of jimping at the side here, because I'll tell you what, this thumb disc, if you've got wet or oily fingers, is utterly worthless. You'll just do that on it. Obviously, I don't have wet or oily hands right now, so it's fine. But if your hands are even slightly slippery or compromised in any way, that's near worthless, that thumb disc. But I do very much like that you can move it anywhere on that blade, and you can remove it if you don't want it. I'd much rather have it than not. Obviously, the further down the blade, the easier it's going to be to open, to a point, I suppose. You can even open this sheep's foot without that. Oh, if I hadn't just cut my hand. Let's just take that off. But yeah, you can just use that track to open it like that. But what I will say is, obviously, the further down the knife you have it, the more it'll impede your blade path. So that's why I tend to have mine very high, like near the finger choil. So also you've got to be careful, because of this point here, if you have it about there, you can't get enough clearance off your thumb, off of that scale. So you need to have it either here, like where I have them, or like somewhere down in this region. Right there's a bit naff, annoyingly. So that's it, that's my review finally of the XM Slippy. I've had this one coming for a long time, but it's just, like I said, I figured if I'm getting the other ones anyway, I might as well just wait until I've got all three, and then I can do a comparison kind of thing. But yeah, this is at the moment by far my favourite knife I've reviewed so far. Yeah, that's a complete thumbs up for me. If you can afford it, if you don't have a missus, if no one's going to get angry at you for spending basically 300 quid on some metal, I say absolutely go for it. These are wonderful things, wonderful tools. Right, cheers for watching, guys. See you on the next one.
Also, quick note, I had to contact customer service because I lost the thumb disc to the sheep's foot at work because I hadn't tightened the set screw properly, my fault. However, Carrie there was able to sort me out another one at a very reasonable price, especially for international shipping, so thank you very much, Carrie Hill. Fantastic customer service agent, fantastic customer service in general from Rick.